All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone to our first town hall of 2023. My name is Tim Hobson, lay leader here at First United Methodist Church Plano. I'm glad that you're here, and if you're joining with us online, I'm glad that you're joining in online with us as well. If you have any questions today, we will have a Q&A session at the end. So we do have, for those in person, an open mic here at the end. And if you're online, if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and submitting your questions early. There is a bit of a time delay between you submitting your question and by the time it gets here into the sanctuary to us. So go ahead and get those questions in early. As a reminder, the purpose of these town halls is just simply to, A, introduce you to the leadership of the church, the lay leadership of the church, but also to hear what you have to say in the Q&A parts of the session. And yesterday, we had our leadership training session here at First Church Plano. And I have to say, it was a really good session. We had a lot of engagement from our 2023 leadership team. We also had some youth that joined us for that training session. We heard a keynote address from our North Texas Conference lay leader, Kim Brannon, talking about our good bones, called, equipped, and sent was the title of her keynote message. And then today we did have a district training session over at Grace Avenue United Methodist Church, where we did get to live as part of our larger connectional church within the North Texas Conference for our North Central District. What I want to do now is I want to open with a brief devotional that I opened with yesterday as part of the leadership session. One of Paul's prison letters to the church at Philippi, you know it as Philippians, and I took this letter and yesterday I changed the beginning of it just ever so slightly that you might hear it in our context here as if Paul were speaking to you today. From Paul and Timothy, slaves of Christ Jesus, to all of those in First United Methodist Church of Plano who are God's people in Christ Jesus, along with your staff and pastors, may the grace and peace from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ be with you. I thank my God every time I mention you in my prayers. I'm thankful for all of you every time I pray, and it's always a prayer full of joy. I'm glad because of the way you have been my partners in the ministry of the gospel from the time you first believed until now. I'm sure about this. The one who started a good work in you will stay with you to complete it until the day of Christ Jesus. I have good reason to think this way about all of you because I keep you in my heart. You are all my partners in God's grace, both during my time in prison and in the defense and support of the gospel. God is my witness that I feel affection for all of you with the compassion of Christ Jesus. This is my prayer, that your love might become even more and more rich with knowledge and all kinds of insight. I pray this so that you will be able to decide what really matters, and so you will be sincere and blameless on the day of Christ. I pray that you will then be filled with the fruit of righteousness, which comes from Jesus Christ, in order to give glory and praise to God. So as I was thinking about preparing for the devotional yesterday, I was doing a little bit of nostalgic reminiscing over the last 17 years that my family has been a part of this church. And I was thinking about, of all the people that I've known through all the years up until now, how all those people have had a positive influence on my life and my faith journey, but not just me. I've seen that positive influence also in you, in my family, in the youth, in the children. And it ties into what Kim talked about, our good bones. We have those good bones as a church. Paul used the term partners a couple of times in his letter. I like to think also that all of you are not just partners, you're friends, you're mentors, you're teachers, and sometimes you're even sparring partners when it comes to matters of faith. I got the privilege not too long ago to see my youngest son, Zach, give his own devotion and testimony to the youth group. I don't know about you, but most 16-year-olds that I know don't just do that without being some village raising going on in the background. So thank you for being part of that village that has helped to raise him. Lastly, as I was thinking about this devotional, a song popped in my head, and I mentioned this to Robin afterwards because I was going to put her on the spot and say, I need you to sing, a cappella, just impromptu. A song popped into my head, and it was an anthem that the chancel choir had sang not too long ago. It's by Joseph M. Martin. It's He Who Began a Good Work. And I'll describe it to you this way off of the J.W. Pepper website. It's a driving, exhilarating, and celebratory anthem which is pure faith energy from beginning to end. He who began a good work in you will stay with you to complete the job. And I said yesterday, and I'll say it again, last time I checked, Jesus hasn't come back yet. So that means we still have time and we still have work to do. So I thank you. Would you pray with me? Heavenly Father, thank you for being an ever-present God. You call us, you equip us, and you send us. Lord, increase our love for you, love for one another, and for all who cross our paths. God, I thank you for the service of these, my brothers and sisters. Use us today, open our hearts, our minds, our souls, and all of our strength, Lord, that we would receive the insight and knowledge to lead into the future so that all may know your grace. Amen. Quick round of introductions, all the committee chairs. You probably see some new faces up here this time from the last town hall. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go down the row real quick. I'll have each of you introduce yourselves, and then we'll go into the different parts of our presentation.
I'm Leslie Harris, the missions co-chair.
Hi, I'm Pam Rossman. I'm the SPRC chair.
I'm Chase Koska. I'm the finance chair.
Kevin Clanahan. I'm the chair of church council.
I'm Pam Gray. I'm the chair of trustees.
Perfect. Thank you. So just so you know and you get familiar with who your church leadership is, this is your church leadership for 2023. Would you please welcome them? And with that, we're going to get started with our normal part of the presentations with missions. So, Leslie?
All right. Well, we were very excited over everything that happened the past few months. After being so limited for a couple of years, we were almost 100% back to full swing in almost all of our ministries. So thank you all very much. It's just been a fantastic quarter. And I'm not going to go through all of our missions because we'd be here all night. We have a lot going on. So what I'm going to do is just hit some event highlights and talk about what has been new in the past few months. Our yard sale raised over $1,800 for missions. Mission Market had 30 vendors that raised over $25,000 for their orgs. And then Mission Together had over 100 people executing 8 projects that benefited both local and international communities. The blood drive raised 50 units, and Bill's PX ministry mailed 72 boxes in 2022. So thank you all so much for all the support for those events and the others that I didn't mention. New this quarter was an expansion of our education outreach. Now we have mentors at both Memorial and Dooley, and we are supporting Hickey. So that is very exciting, and we need more volunteers to support this expansion. So if that's in your wheelhouse, please consider joining in our education outreach. We began a missional collaboration with other churches in the area. It kind of came out of people who love people, or we got inspired by it, and Stacy helped really herd everybody in. And the work we did to move God's Pantry, that's a food pantry we support, we got them moved and helped fund their move into their new location, and that was a joint effort from several churches in the area, and we were very excited to be part of that. Also, the gardening opportunity you see being advertised right now, that was born out of talking to our neighbor church. So we plan to continue those collaborations. And totally apart from anything the missions committee helped with or was involved with, Alan Johnson started a service group that's doing a home project. So I don't see him here tonight, but if you're interested in joining in that service team, you can look in Realm or contact Alan. I know he'd like to have more members join his team. This week was a really tough week for our unsheltered residents and all the volunteers that worked at the Plano Overnight Warming Station. They were full to capacity, and they had to turn people away. They actually served over 695 people this week. And some of the shifts were urgent calls out for volunteers, so they were short-staffed. So I would just urge everybody, ask you to please, please prayerfully consider joining the POWS team next winter. It's literally saving lives, and it's so rewarding. You get to meet people and hear stories that will impact your life as much as you're impacting them. So please consider that for next year. If we could get 20 to 30 people, we could be our own team, but anybody that comes, you get put on a team. So please consider that. And lastly, all this growth is because so many more of you have stepped up to take action to do the work God has called us to do. All of our missions are on the website under service, so please look at that. Consider, what calls to you, what speaks to you, and don't hesitate to reach out. All the contact information is there. And if you have an idea for a mission you want to start up, contact me, Debbie, or Stacy, and we would love to talk to you about it. So that's it. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
Hello again. It's so good to see everybody tonight. Again, I'm Pam Rossman. I'm the Staff Parish Relations Committee Chair. And, okay, thank you. So I just wanted to tell you, which you've probably all heard this now 100 times, but the main purpose of SPRC is to build relationships, not only with our clergy, with our staff, with the staff's family, with the congregation. We just want to make sure that we're here for you and the staff and everyone. In addition, we're kind of like the human resources department. I kind of use that analogy a lot, where we like a large corporation would have an HR department. We're that to the church. So a lot of moving parts. We do have a guideline book that we follow, and the book tells us exactly what every year we need to do and we need to cover for each quarter. We do meet twice a quarter. We have ad hoc meetings where necessary, especially like if we come into the situation where we have a staff replacement, then we would have to create a team to do the interviews and process the applications and things like that. So, we're always ready and available. We have 9 members on our SPRC team, plus Tim and Matt. So I was going to go over who these people are, but I want to tell you it's really easy to find. It's on the website. So if you want to see any committee and who makes up the committee, go to our FUMC Plano website. You'll see the word welcome at the top, and next to it, it says who we are. And you click on that and you drop down to 2023 leadership, and there you will see all your committees, the names, who's the chair, if there's a vice chair, and pop the year that they're going to roll off their committee. So anyway, it's kind of good to get aware or be aware of where those names are. But for SPRC, our membership this year is Dave Anderson, Jane Clanahan, Dorothy Klein, Alan England, Catherine Hake, Tommy Lawrence, Rick Ross, myself, and Brenda Zimmerman. Brenda this year is serving as our co-chair for SPRC, so because this is my last year on the committee. So anyway, and then of course Tim and Matt are there for us. So what do we do? I mean, I don't know if we've always thought about that. You probably all have served on SPRC, but we break it up into quarters. So we've already had our first meeting this year, and it was all about orientation, setting expectations, kind of getting to know one another, and to begin those establishing relationships with the staff. Then in second quarter, we kind of take a little bit of a turn, and we look at policies or processes, things that maybe we need to update or review. We do a lot of documents review as well. Example, last year, we completely went through the employee handbook. And we had to make a few adjustments because the last time it had been updated was in 2020, like the beginning, which was right when, COVID hit. So we had a lot of adjustments to make, but it was good just to sit down and read it. So we always have that to do. Third quarter, we move into job descriptions. As we all know, we live in a very, very changing environment. So what we may do today as a staff member may get tweaked over the year. We want to make sure that the job description is appropriate. And during that time, we talk about, the benefits and the salaries and the packages, and also leadership development. How is our staff, our clergy, how are they self-developing? And then what always happens in fourth quarter? Annual evaluations. I don't think we'll ever get away from annual evaluations even after you retire, because you'll be on another committee that will require them. But anyway, so we'll do all the annual evaluations, and then we do a lot of reporting into the charge or to the conference. And then, of course, what's the most important thing you do at the end of the year is you begin to prepare for the next year with your budget. So that's kind of the 30,000-foot approach as to what SPRC does. We have a great group this year, and I'm excited. I'm honored once again to be the chair, and I look forward to working with my committee and these committees and everybody else. So unless you have something, I think I'll pass the mic. Good. Chase.
All right. Again, I am Chase Koska, Chair of Finance. I'm glad Pam brought up where to find the committee rosters, because I was going to announce who was on finance, and I forgot the roster at home. So I guess you could just look on the website for me. I want to start off by talking about how we ended 2022 from a financial standpoint. If you've not been here the past month, haven't checked your mailbox, haven't heard the news, we ended in the positive. As surprising as that is from where we stood at the beginning of December 2022. We were at a $160,000 deficit going into December of 2022. We ended up on the positive, $12,000 by the end of the year. That's a huge swing. Yes, thank you. And that is all you guys. That is your gifts. That is your faithfulness to this church. That is your investment to the rest of us. So round of applause for yourselves is what that should be. You're setting the stage for 2023 to be just amazing, to be fully staffed, and to be fully committed to the programs and outreach that we're planning. So again, looking forward to that, and I appreciate all your gifts there. I'm going to give a quick overview on year-on-year pledging. In 2022, our pledges, not what we received, but what our pledges were, it was $1,219,000, and our pledges as of right now for 2023 are $1,310,000. So that's a $91,000 increase, a 7.5% increase, if you will, and that just it shows your generosity and your step up in commitment to this church. So really appreciate that. The last thing I'm going to discuss is if at any point you were unsure either what you pledged or where you stand on your pledge, you can go on Realm. I'm doing Julia Dolberry a solid here. Go on Realm. One of the 7 options there is the Giving tab, and you can check and see how much you committed, how much you've given, and I believe you can also print out tax statement forms, which is a big deal right now. So everybody use Realm to their advantage. That's all for me.
Thanks, Chase. I'm going to invite Marty Bowen up here to cover children and youth.
Will the children please come? Just kidding. All right. Thank you. All right. I am talking to y'all tonight about youth and children's ministries here at our church. The youth together we did a parents' night out, youth night in back in December. That was a lot of fun. And these things are in addition to our regular programs. I wanted to kind of put a plug in here because it's the program staff that is doing the second Sunday suppers. And this was not the second Sunday, but we did have an awesome chili cook-off tonight. Thank you to those who came and enjoyed and participated. And our second Sunday suppers have been a lot of fun. So I would just encourage y'all to come to those. The next one is going to be a mystery dinner theater. So I hope that y'all will join us. It's going to be a lot of fun. I went to something recently, well, I've been going to something called A Time for Children with Leanne Hadley, and the Conference Center really supports that, and it is an incredible program, and Sarah and I both have been doing continuing education, really trying to work in different ways to meet the needs of our children and youth today. Another thing that we did was we went to a conference called Ology, The Spiritual Child. There's a book that was written by Lisa Miller called The Spiritual Child, and the Ology is convening experts and authors spanning psychology, counseling, theology, ministry, and education to take stock of what kids and teens need from us. The conference that we went to truly had people who are in ministry with youth, the ministry of children. They do counseling with youth and children. They are from schools, from all different walks of life, who are there to really help take care of the children. And it was great. And we're learning a lot in just ministering and doing what we can for the children of today. On top of that, we had our Wonderfully Made conference this past couple of days, and thank you to a couple of extras too from this family right here. That 16-year-old Zach came and helped out, and Jennifer. But you know, it's funny, I did Created by God with my children. We did the Created by God program for a lot. Well, Wonderfully Made has replaced the Created by God, and I learned quite a bit at this. It's amazing. The world is changing so rapidly, and the kids today are growing up in a very different world from even the world that my kids grew up in. And so we're really having to learn a lot about, you know, with all the technology that's available and everything else, about how to keep up with that and minister in the best ways possible that we can to our children and youth. The youth went to Midwinter and had a great time at Bridgeport for Midwinter this year. The youth also have a Valentine's bake sale coming up on the 12th, and hope that y'all will participate in that. I believe that money goes towards youth missions. We have a pancake supper and Lent event that is a free Mardi Gras pancake supper, so I hope y'all will join us for that. And we'll be talking, has different stations talking about Lent, what Lent is in our church, and one for prayer and the different aspects of what we do in Lent and what Lent is all about. And then after that, it's followed by the Easter extravaganza. Are y'all ready for that? Yeah, all right, good. Coming this summer, of course, we have Vacation Bible School, our mission trips in Bridgeport. We have a lot going on. It's been very exciting. You know, in talking with other children's ministers in our area, we're all facing the same challenge. And not even in our area. We have some from Colorado and from different areas, but we're all facing the same challenge in trying to get our families in and active. And it's not an easy task right now, as y'all have seen, but we are getting new families in, and with the families that we have, we're really trying to minister to those families in the best way possible. And we're really excited about what's going on right now at our church. Any questions? Thank you.
Good evening. I'm the chair of the trustees, Pam Gray. And before I get started, I just want to say a big thank you for Brian Barty, because he was the chair in 2022. And they actually accomplished quite a bit in the last quarter, and I'm going to mention some of those things that Brian and that group of people accomplished in the last quarter of 2022. The kitchen has to be inspected every once in a while, and we did a front and back deep clean of the kitchen in November. The Yardbirds finished with remodeling of the children's play yard, including fixing the sprinklers and cleaning up the grounds following the balloon festival. The roof above the sanctuary over the gathering area and the classroom area above the DS office was repaired due to water issues. However, prior to our November meeting, there were leaks again above the district office. It turns out there was screws of the metal sealant that had failed. So we did get a vendor out, a permanent fix was in place, but then turns around, we have another classroom leak. So we're now getting a quote for the classroom leak. we got a gift, I guess, in a way you'd call it, from the weekday program for rolling shades in the youth lounge, and those were installed a couple weeks ago. One of our longtime families of this church, the Shell family, Shirley Carter Shell, was one of the people that was responsible for starting up the historical committee for the church. And a historical marker was approved for her recognition and was mounted. I don't know if you've ever noticed it before, but we do have an archive room in the church down the hallway past the office area on the left. And that's where all of our church archives are kept. And there is a plaque in her name for all the work that she did. Let's see. As the church ages, we're beginning to see lots of little problems here and there. We've been having issues with our panic doors. They're not locking. And so we were having a hard time finding a vendor to fix those doors because they can't find the parts anymore. Well, we did find a company that specializes in older hardware and hard to find parts, and they have been able to fix the panic doors in the meantime, but we've been warned that we're just ticking away for time on those doors. And so we're going to be looking at proposals for fixing some of these doors permanently here in 2023. Let's see. Some of you may have experienced that we have been having problems with the buttons at the doors that had the handicap buttons, and those were fixed next to the porte-cochere and the office. Let's see. As part of our contracted janitorial services, it was recommended by that organization that we step away from the battery-operated towel containers in all the restrooms and the youth areas and the daycare. So they said that having paper towels rather than the automatic dispensers would be better for us budget-wise because we spent a lot of money on battery replacements for those towel dispensers. So we agreed to that deal, and we got all the dispensers free for the church, and those were installed. And so you probably have already seen those dispensers. You probably noticed some of the new directional signs. Those were all placed in December. That took us probably about 4 years to get to that point, because last time I was on chair, we were talking about it, and we didn't get it done. But the 2022 team of trustees got it done. And those signs were installed right before Christmas. Let's see. It has been since 2018 since we last negotiated with the weekday program regarding their use of our facilities. They pay for a portion of the use of our facilities. And so Nina Davis, who is our business administrator for the church, is working with the weekday program to negotiate the change in fees because supplies increase and things like that. Once they come to an agreement, the Board of Trustees will have to vote on it, and that will be effective June 1st of this year. And then, as far as we're concerned, for 2023, just as we have mission control back here in the back of the sanctuary, which is where the AV equipment is, we also really needed the same kind of deal in the chapel area. And so Ephraim came to us with a proposal that we build a new area back there in the chapel, because if you ever stepped in there and saw the wires and stuff, it was a total mess. And so we agreed to spending that money. It was part of the budget anyway. And there are Yardbirds helping him build that. And so all that electrical wiring and stuff will be contained, and it'll look a whole lot nicer in the back of the chapel. And I think that is it. Yeah, thank you.
Hello, church. Hello. Thank you. Well, I am Kevin Clanahan, started chair of church council this year. Not my first time through the cycle, so you'd think I'd learned by now. But anyway, so just a couple things I'd like to talk about. We have had our first meeting of the church council this year. It was basically an orientation meeting. But a couple things came out of that. One is I had each of the members that were there dream and say and tell the entire council if they could do something with this church, if there was a mission or ministry that they could accomplish, if we weren't held by any bounds by anything, what would they be? And I did that for a couple of reasons. One is to get people to think about where we're at as a church, where we're at as a congregation, where we're at as a denomination, where we're at as Christians in America. This is perhaps a time that we've never going to see again, a chance for us to make a real turn, a real change as we go forward. And I'm excited about it. At the district training today, we had a video message from Bishop Saines. And one of the things that I walked away from that is, and I'm in agreement with him, he said, I have never been more hopeful for the church than I have at this time. And I think we need to live into that. And I hope you do too. The other thing I challenged each of the church council members to be is a champion for one of our ministry areas. We all have certain ties to different ministry areas. Y'all do, I know. So on the council, what I want to do is have somebody that is the champion for the youth and the children, a champion for different ministries, and to really fight for that ministry. And that's hopefully going to bring us some real strong leadership. So one of the big things going on right now that I sent a notification about is the status of the potential sale of land that we have. Ephraim, you can go ahead and put that slide up if you'd like. We have signed a contract at the end of December. Previous church council, chair of the church council, signed a contract with Serene Global to purchase some of our land. And what that contract did is put us into a phased approach. So we're in the phase where both parties, both us as the church and the developer, are in a feasibility phase. They're looking to see, does this deal actually make sense? Is this something that they could actually do? Is it on terms that we can accept, would be beneficial to our congregation? So what's happening right now is they have developed a concept plan, which is basically kind of laying out, here's what we would do. And we are working through them to revise that, to get some things in it that we wanted to see, and also get agreement from them as to some of the things that we feel like we really need to do. Prime example of that is, if this were to go through, we would be losing I always get turned around in this building. Where am I here? The parking lot out here, the big parking lot by that entrance in the grand hall, in the grand entry hall. We would lose that parking lot. So we are going to request and demand, probably more like it, that they replace that parking for us. Not at our cost, but at their cost, at their expense and at their effort. Other things like that will be included in the agreement as well. We will get to a point where that concept plan will be something that we both agree on, and it's something that we could both go forward with. At that point, that's when the vote will be held here as a congregation to say, is this something that we want to do or not? Okay, it'll be up to the folks at the church conference that come and vote. The decision will be solely the congregations. Should that pass, then they would then go into a point where they're actually doing engineering work, things to come out with an actual final plan. And we also have right of refusal of that plan. So if, even after we voted to go ahead, that there's something in the plan that we just can't, it's not acceptable to us, we can walk away from the deal. So we're not in any way tied to something that we can't get out of at this point. Let's see here. So if that happens, if we do get approval from the church conference, it'll go into a 90-day period where they'll be developing this final plan. We will get to a point where we agree with that and we can move forward or not, okay? I did bring a handout today that I'll have at the back for people to pick up a copy that kind of goes through a few questions. One is, why are we considering selling a portion of our land? Second question is, how would proceeds of the sale be used? Third question, what will be the effect on our campus? And fourth, and the most important question is, what would be the effect on the mission and ministries of the church? So without going into a lot of that detail, so come in Q&A, we can answer some of those, but I want to thank Keith Landau from being the previous chair of the council, and also his effort along with the rest of the long-term campus sustainability team to get us to this point where we can make a rational decision. And also working with most of the folks that are on this stage right now in terms of looking at the plan and getting it to a point where we can present it to the congregation. Thank you.
So as you can see, there is a lot going on in our church, in the life of the church, in missions and youth and children's, just all the different areas, all the different processes and wheels that are turning to keep this place going and to be in ministry and partnership with you. And it does take a huge amount of effort and people to do that. So thank you for being a part of that. If you're not part of that already, get plugged in somewhere. As we kind of learned yesterday and also today, part of the visioning that the Methodist Church is doing is to say, okay, what does the future look like? And one of the questions somebody asked in yesterday's leadership session was, well, what does the institutional church of the future for the United Methodist Church look like? And Matt basically said, I'm going to paraphrase here, so correct me if I'm wrong, but basically it's going to look like the laity of the church is carrying most of the work here. And the pastors and the staff of the church is really enabling the laity to get all of those things done. And it's a partnership that happens. So that's kind of what the institutional future of the United Methodist Church looks like. And that's probably a bit different than some of us see what the world looks like today, where we're a bit, let's say, too reliant on structure, and it's a little bit more unstructured in that sense. Did I kind of get that roughly right? I got a hand up, so he's nodding his head yes. So, all right, we're now going into the part of our presentation in Town Hall where we get to the Q&A session. Ephraim, do we have any questions online? We have one. Can you somehow read that out loud to us? Oh, it's online. Wow. Thank you, Deborah, for putting your name to it. Is the land to be sold at intersection of Parker and Spring Creek or on the other side by the gym and Yardbird shed? Kevin, I'm going to let you answer that.
Is this on? Okay. The portion of the land that is being considered is the second. It's over towards, if you come off the Spring Creek entrance that goes by the weekday program, et cetera, it's that way away from the church is where it is. And it'll proceed on around for some amount of space that is yet to be completely determined, again, depending on their final plan.
Thank you. Any other questions online, Ephraim? All right, thank you. I'll open up the floor mic here. If you have any questions, please feel free to come forward and ask. Or comments? Ron said we did too good of a job. Oh no, the pastor's coming up to ask a question.
Kevin, you might want to address the online audience and us about the information sessions that are coming up, unless it's in that handout.
No, it's not. Thank you. Thank you, Matt, for reminding me. So again, we are shooting for holding the church conference on February the 26th, which is a Sunday, and it'll be at 12:15, so following the second service. On the February 15th, which is a Wednesday, and February 19th, which is a Sunday, we'll have 2 information Q&A sessions for people to come and ask questions, look at everything that we've got available at that point. The Wednesday night one will be from 6 to 7, I think, because if I got that right, because choir starts at 7, right? So we finally got the time right, I think. So it's from 6 to 7 on Wednesday the 15th, and then from 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock or 10:45 on the 19th, the Sunday. Both of them going to be in the chapel.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Again, I just want to second what Chase said. For us to, from the beginning of December to starting the year and the plus 12,000, from the absolute bottom of my heart, I am so grateful. So we had talked about maybe making a video, but thank you all so very, very much.
So I'm taking it there's not too many questions left in whoever's here. I want to second and third that also, because I see that as, for those of us who maybe don't see God working in this place, I took that for me at least as a moment where God is definitely working in this place and he is doing miracles. So God is still at work in our lives, so don't ever forget that. Last chance. All right, thank you so much. Appreciate you being here. Good night.